Hey guys, I'm Dale. I'm here today to show you how to make a basic headboard. The one we're making is for a twin bed. It's really simple and it requires very little, minimal cost, and it should be fairly easy. So I'm fixing to give you the rundown on what we need. Okay guys, here's our material list. You can use whatever you'd like. I'm using some 1x4 pine furring strips, 8 foot long. They're reasonably priced at Lowe's. I got these for $2.16 each. For the post, we're going to need 2 pieces, 4 foot long, 48 inches, and we'll need 5 pieces, 38 inches long for the runners. I'm going to be using some Rust-Oleum stain. You can use whatever color suits you. I'm using Kona. It kind of goes with their dressers. And we'll also be needing some wood screws. These are 6 gauge, 1 1/4 inches long. That's how I'll be attaching the runners to the post. I'm also going to be using some number 10 machine screws to attach the headboard to the bed frame. And later on I'll show you some styrofoam that I'm using. I'll be putting on the back of the post with some spray glue. It keeps the headboard from rubbing against the wall if you've got kids that jump on the bed or whatever. Okay, here's the tools I'm going to be using. You'll need some lint-free rags for applying the stain and to wipe the dust off of the lumber after you make your cuts. I'll be using a cordless battery-operated skill saw, sander, and a screw gun. Okay, I've also got a flat blade screwdriver just for getting the lid off the stain. I've got a pair of clamps right here that I'll be using to clamp the wood together before I screw it. 1 foot framing square to get everything squared up right. Here's my speed square. I'll be using this to make my cuts with, to lay out my cuts. A pencil. Also a pilot bit. I like to run a pilot hole through my runners before I attach it to the post so I don't split the wood. Of course, the bit for your screws. I've got some gloves right here that I'm just going to put on to keep from getting the stain all over my hands when I stain it. And also tape measure. That's the basic tools you'll need, and we'll get started here in a minute. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is lay out my 2 posts. And since this is an 8 foot piece, I want my post 4 foot long. I'm going to make me a mark at 4 foot. You should be able to get 2 posts out of one of these pieces of lumber. Alright, then I need 5 runners, 38 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and make my marks on them, just like so. 38, 38. And then I'm going to go from the other end. It's just a little more efficient because you have to allow what the saw blade takes out. Alright, there's my marks. Now I'm going to take my speed square. I'm going to square my lines off of here. Just like so. 2 posts, that'll be 2 runners. Alright, we've got them laid out. And now, with our safety glasses, we'll be making the cuts with our cordless skill saw. Okay, our next step, I'm just going to sand the rough edges off of our cut ends. Smooth them up. Alright, I finished the sanding, so right now I'm just wiping off any excess sawdust, dirt, and just so y'all know, I'm not a carpenter. By trade, I'm a metal fabricator. There's some difference in metal fabrication and carpentry, but not a whole lot. One's easier to fix than the others. But if I can do this, anybody can. Like I said, this is just a simple project. Quick, fairly easy. And if it looks like I'm in a hurry, it looks like it might rain, so I want to get this stain on here before it does, in case we have to move into the carport. You just want to get all the excess off of there. And our next step is going to be to stain these. Alright, we're fixing to start staining. I've got my can of Rust-Oleum stain here. It was about $8 at Lowe's. This will be my third time staining something. Shake it up real good. Take the lid off. We've got a lint-free rag right here. And we just dip it in there. And then you just apply it. Just rub it on. Fairly easy. Get you a nice even coat. Make sure you don't leave any excess on there and get in all the little divots. The rough spots are a little harder. You just got to kind of pat them so the stain gets in there a little bit. See how that works right there? And then you want to go in the direction of the grain with the wood, with the grain. Just get a nice coat on there. I'm going to get the top on both sides and the ends this time, and then we're going to let that dry for about an hour and a half or so. Let it dry. And if you wanted to afterwards, you could apply a polyurethane. That'd make it a little more durable, last a little longer. But I'm just putting one coat on here, just to keep it a basic, simple project. You can do whatever you want with it. Make it yours. All right. See how that works? Let me get this other side here. I try to get most of my stain on the top before I go to the sides, so I don't have any runs. Alright, there we go, kind of like that there. I'll come down here to the end. I'm just going to kind of pat that on because that's a little rougher than the flat surfaces. It's my saw cut right there. Just kind of pat that on, make sure it gets in there pretty good. This Rust-Oleum brand, it has pretty good coverage. And you'll have light spots in there, and if you want it darker and no light spots in your wood, just wait for it to dry and apply another coat. Just dip it in there. Wipe it on. Simple enough.
Don't freak out about the color. It'll lighten.
Get the size real good. Sometimes you'll come across a rough spot and snag your cloth a little bit. Just be careful with those. You don't want any splinters in your cloth. You get just a little bit more, and I'll put some excess on here. And wipe my end off, like so. A little cloudy out today, so I'm hoping we can get the staining done. Well, I'm hoping to get all this done, the whole thing assembled before rain sets in, but who knows. Carport's not too far away. Alright, 6 more to go. Alright, I'm on my last piece right here. I have 3 sides done. Like I said, after this you can let it dry. You can apply another coat. See how this is drying? Got some light spots. I kind of like it that way. You could put another coat to darken it up. And it will lighten up. Depending on what type of wood you use and how much stain it absorbs will determine the actual color. So the color you see on the can is not necessarily the color you're going to get. I've already made one of these for one of the twins, and you can see how much stain I have left. So it actually goes a little bit, goes a long way. This is a fairly economical project that anybody can do in their backyard with a few hand tools. You don't necessarily have to have power tools to do this. It does make it easier. And I don't have the high dollar power tools. That was a nice Christmas gift that I received one year. And they do come in handy. They work just fine. At first I had a problem. I've got a dull blade on my skill saw. And a dull blade and a weak battery just don't go. So I had to change the battery out. That helped out quite a bit. These rough ends, they take a little more stain. I'm just kind of patting that in there to get into all the saw grooves, marks. Like I said, you want to try to keep the excess off. You don't want it to run around to the other side, because then you'll have drip marks that you have to sand off. See, I still got a few spots so I can get down in all the knots and imperfections in the wood. Like I said, this is just 1x4s, furring strips. You can use more expensive wood, you can use cedar, you can use whatever you want to use. Like I said, these were $2.16 at Lowe's for an 8-footer. And contractor packs, they're a little bit cheaper. I think if you buy 42 boards, they're $2.05 a piece. So we're going to let this dry. And then we're going to turn them over, coat the other side, let that dry, and then we'll begin the assembly. And then we'll put it on the bed. Alright, so we finished staining our wood. It's pretty dry. It's a little tacky in places, but it's dry enough to assemble. Alright, once you get it stained, you're going to have two sides, of course. One side might look a little better than the other as far as knots or nicks in the wood or just any imperfections. You can pick which side you want to be the front of the headboard, and then you turn the front facing down. This is just the way I'm going to assemble it. You can do it however you like, because I'm putting the screws in from the back side. The screw head will be on the very back, so you won't see it. Just make sure that when you screw it together, your screws don't come all the way through. Otherwise, you'll be getting some nicks and cuts. And if they do, you can always take a grinder or some side cutters and take care of that problem. So what we're going to do is, I got it roughly laid out. I got my 2 posts, and I've got my 5 runners. They're not evenly spaced yet, because I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. So what I do now, I'm going to take my framing square, and I'm going to square my 2 pieces of wood up like so. I'm going to even it up at the top and on the side right here, so I hold my measurement. Then we're just going to square it up like so. Need to come around a little bit more on this leg here. Whole time making sure your top and side stays lined up. This one wants to keep moving on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my clamp. I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on that. It's like my second hand there, third hand. Alright. So now I can use both hands for my framing square. Alright, that looks good right there. So I'm going to clamp it in place. I'm going to take and drill me a pilot hole. I just drill my pilot through the back piece, the piece that I'm going through first. That way you don't split the wood. And I'll usually get a pattern going, like inside and to the top of the runner. Right here. And I'm going to drill me another one right here. And you can set your drill bit to the depth you need it, so you don't go all the way through. And the pilot's going to be smaller than the actual wood screw, so if you do go all the way through into this one a little bit, it's not going to hurt anything. Alright, I'm going to check it again for square. Make sure I hadn't moved anything. Okay, we look good right there. And I've got enough clamps I could clamp this whole thing together, but I'm just doing it this way. Change my bit out every time, and I can check it as I go. Make sure nothing's moved. Hold my measurements. It don't have to be perfect. Alright, same thing with the other side. I got it squared up, clamped off, a couple of pilot holes, going to screw it down, then I'm going to space them out as I go. You can make your spacing however you want it. You can use as many slats or runners as you want. You can make them 1x6s, 1x4s, whatever width you want, whatever your look you're going for. Just make sure you've got plenty of room for your box spring and mattress. I put my bottom runner right above the mattress, and I've got enough to go down with a couple of inches of clearance off the floor and mount to the actual bed frame. So I'm going to screw this and then space them out, and we'll go from there. I'll let you see me spacing them out here. Alright, I got my top runner screwed on, but before I put the last two screws in, I checked my framework to make sure it was square. I pulled from corner to corner, and you're going to want the same thing on each side. If you got the same measurement, you know it's square. So we're pretty good right there. That's right on the money. Alright, next what I did is I'm using 3-inch spacing on mine, so I took my tape measure. You can use a block or something. I got 3 inches there. Got my 3 inches on this side. Made sure I was even on both outside edges, clamped it down. I'm going to put my pilot holes, 2 more screws. Same on this side, and I'm going to do that all the way down until I get to my bottom runner. Alright, we're done with the outside work for now. That's what it looks like. We're going to take it in the house and assemble it to the bed frame. Alright, I've got our finished headboard in position. Here's the bed frame. I've got a couple of books under here for spacers to get at the distance off the floor I want for clearance. And I've still got clearance for my box spring and mattress. So I took a couple of vice grips. I'm just going to clamp it into place like so. Alright, here's the mounting holes in the frame. So what I want to do, so I'm going to get my drill where I want it, and I'm just going to drill right through there. Like so. Alright, I got some number 10 machine screws that I'm going to use to mount it with. Right through the back here. Couple of flat washers, like so. We got a lock washer going on there, and a nut. If I can ever get it started. Alright, there we go. I'm going to put another one right here beside it, and I've got a third mounting slot down here. I'm just going to put one screw through there. Do the same thing on both sides, and it'll be fastened to the bed frame. We'll show you the final product here in a few minutes. And there you go, folks. Finished basic headboard. A few easy steps, and you can have one too. It's not that hard, simple, fairly cheap. And something to do on the weekend for your kids, or you can make one for yourself. That's just a twin size. You could do a full size or a king or queen size version if you wanted to. You could fancy it up however you want. We've got one in our room that we made, and we even went so far as to upholster ours. So just whatever suits you and pleases you. I hope you all enjoyed it and maybe learned something from it. We'll see you next time.